To me, this is a perfect movie moment, and in my mind, it will go down with the likes of I Could Have Had Class and On the Waterfront, Tears and Rain in Blade Runner, the last moments of the 400 Blows, Club Silencio in Mulholland Drive, and the gas station coin flip in No Country for Old Men. Indelible moments that perfectly sum up the theme of the heavily thematic movie that they're in, while also being illuminating character moments. The reason it's a perfect moment is because everything in the movie has led us directly here. Throughout the movie, Mason encounters rules that adults have, and he doesn't understand their rules or why he has to follow them.
She didn't ask for them.
Well, baby, she doesn't have to. You're just supposed to turn them in.
So when I check the mobiles, am I going to find yours?
No,
And why not?
because I didn't finish it.
Well, it's time to finish it.
Just a minute.
So, did you finish?
No.
Is the job complete?
I mean, he didn't even ask. He just cut it. I mean, it's my hair.
Inside here, huh? Come inside here. Where the hell are you going? Get your ass upstairs.
Darkroom time is extracurricular. I mean, technically, you don't ever have to be in here these days. And certainly not until you've completed your assignments.
This is my house. Now, if you want to live in my house, then you get home when you say you're going to be home.
Mason, we are in the weeds out here.
I'm going as fast as I can.
I find myself so furious at all these people that I'm in contact with just for controlling me or whatever, but
That's his main struggle throughout his childhood, just like it's a lot of people's struggle throughout childhood.
I mean, I just want to be able to do anything I want because it makes me feel alive.
That's Linklater's biggest observation about growing up, that childhood is about getting more and more free and autonomous, little by little.
You know, by like next summer, this will just be our lives. Staying out all night, going to shows, whatever we want.
And the climax of that long process is Mason finally alone, with nothing but the open road. No one telling him what to do or what to think or how to live or where to go. Not taking pictures for school or for a project, but just because he wants to. He only has to answer to himself.
All right, it means you are responsible for you, not your girlfriend, not your mom, not me.
From a story and narrative standpoint, Boyhood as a whole really reminds me of Francois Truffaut's aforementioned masterpiece, The 400 Blows. Both are about the difficulties of adolescence. Both involve young men who are misunderstood by mostly well-meaning adults. Both have stepfathers who try to control them. Both end with the protagonist traveling alone, traveling to that moment of freedom, that moment that they've longed for. The endings are actually strikingly similar. Boyhood just takes this simple story and expands it to take place over 12 years. And I know this movie gets endlessly accused of being nothing but a gimmick, but I have to point out that this thematic climax would still be just as thematically climactic regardless of whether or not the movie was filmed over the course of 12 years. It's a thematic climax because our main character has finally achieved his goal, overcome what stood in his way, and gotten to where he's been headed his whole life. None of that requires that the movie be made the way that it was. The movie could have been animated with the exact same script, and this thematic climax would stand. The movie could have used different actors for the different ages, and this thematic climax would stand. The movie could have artificially aged the characters, and this thematic climax would stand. But damn, there really is value added by the filming over 12 years. Seeing Mason grow up adds even more authenticity to this moment, because you can feel how connected Mason here is to Mason here. You see 6-year-old Mason in 18-year-old Mason. You hear 6-year-old Mason's voice in 18-year-old Mason's voice.
I think it must be if you put rot into there just right, it'll turn into a wasp.
Let the NSA scan your digital ghost and they'll tell you who your roommate is based on everything you've ever said, written, or clicked.
And throughout the journey that got us here, you're able to appreciate the subtle changes from 6 to 7, from 10 to 11. The drastic changes from 12 to 13, 13 to 14. No matter how skilled the animator or how perfect the makeup job, they wouldn't have been able to accomplish this. I've heard a lot of people point out that a number of long-running movie series include characters aging in real time, the go-to example that I've heard the most being Harry Potter. Other people point out that many long-running TV series include the same thing, the go-to example, for some reason, seeming to be Roseanne, because the internet is a weird place.
Did you know it took them 7 years to film Roseanne?
And then there's the Up series, which is a documentary series that's been checking in with the same people every 7 years since 1964. And yeah, those things are all doing something vaguely similar, but it's not the same thing. To see the characters physically grow at the same pace and severity of the characters in Boyhood, you'd have to watch 8 full Harry Potter movies back to back to back, or you'd have to watch 150 episodes of Roseanne consecutively, or you'd have to somehow go back and film the intervening years between installments of the Up series. So until someone edits together footage from all 8 Harry Potter movies into something with a cohesive 3-act structure remaining intact, then come talk to me about how Harry Potter accomplished the same feats Boyhood did. More importantly, and this is what a lot of detractors seem to ignore, the passage of time isn't the unifying theme explored by Harry Potter or Roseanne. Growing, learning, living, aging. These are central themes to Boyhood. Harry Potter and Roseanne are just stories that happen to take place over the course of 7 years or so. The passage of time isn't the point of it all like it is in Boyhood.
Can't believe how big they are.
Yeah, time's going by.
Forrest Gump could have used the same actor throughout the movie. They could have cast a 10-year-old to play Forrest in these early scenes, then waited 8 or 10 years for that 10-year-old to reach college age, and then film the college scenes, and then film continuously over the next 18 years or so as the character aged in real time. But that wouldn't add anything to the movie, because time isn't the unifying theme of Forrest Gump. Destiny is. So using the same actors to authentically age the characters in that movie would be cool, but what would be the point?
That's kind of what you're sentenced to from childhood. You're gonna be in school through 12th grade, you're gonna live in your parents' house. There was this thing beckoning beyond that, and I wanted to get there in the movie. And that's what I had to express about growing up. Finally, I just had this one big idea. We'll just get the same cast and we'll film a little bit each year. Like, could you do that? Would that work as a movie?
Again, aging the characters not only adds to the effect of Boyhood, it's the entire point of Boyhood's existence. The movie is about growing and about how time is constant. What better way to convey growing and the constants of time than to actually show growing over time? While the passage of time is admittedly the point of the Up series, it's still doing something very different than Boyhood. Effective and commendable, but very different. To compare the two would be like comparing the show Cosmos to 2001: A Space Odyssey. Both are utterly remarkable in their own way, but they're also trying for and accomplishing very different goals. And the existence of one certainly does not preclude the existence of the other. Hell, earlier this year, a documentary series about O.J. Simpson premiered a month and a half after a narrative series about his murder trial wrapped. And they were both so damn good that even though they're about the same subject, I'm personally thrilled we got both a fictionalized retelling and an interview-based documentary. That convinces me that Linklater could have literally adapted the childhood of one of the subjects of the Up series, and the results still would have been effective and worthwhile. Because, really, comparing Boyhood to the Up series, or Cosmos to 2001, or even The People vs. O.J. to O.J. Made in America, you're comparing apples and oranges. And the accomplishment of the Up series doesn't make Boyhood any less impressive, and it doesn't make this statement any less true. Again, the Up series is effective and commendable, but they're not condensing an entire childhood into a palatable 2.5-hour narrative feature. Nor are they trying to. But that is what Boyhood accomplishes. And in the condensing of an entire childhood into a single movie, what you choose to focus on becomes a very important choice.
You were yelling so loud and she was crying.
That's what you remember, huh?
Yeah.
You don't remember the trips to Galveston, camping in Big Bend, all the fun we had?
Nope.
One thing I appreciate about the movie is that Linklater doesn't feel the need to put a major plot event into every year segment. If that were the case, the movie would be kind of implying that Mason's life is built around these big moments, something that Olivia believes about her own life, likely to her own detriment.
What I'm realizing, my life is just gonna go like that. This series of milestones. Sending Samantha off to college, sending you off to college. You know what's next? Huh? It's my fucking funeral!
But instead, Linklater focuses on the in-between moments, implying that life is built around the in-between moments.
You know, it's funny the way memory works. I'm kind of obsessed with that. So this film, I was really trying to go for those off-kilter moments. You know, they're not trying to say any big statement about growing up. It's just another moment in your life. There's a lot of drama in and around, but to varying degrees. What's dramatic, what's not dramatic, what's banal, what's poetry.
One example of many. Mason's mom gets married twice over the course of the movie, and we never see a wedding or even hear much mention of weddings. We see after the graduation, but don't see the graduation itself. We see before the concert, but don't see the concert itself. We don't see Mason's first kiss, but we see more subtle moments of sexual maturation. Notice that before this moment, he's pretty sexually immature. And after this moment, we see him casually making out with a girl, as if he were used to it. Yeah, more plot points happen as he gets older, but it's to be expected that he has more significant life experiences at 17 than he does at 6. What's really impressive, though, is that Linklater still manages to give these early years their special moments. In a bit of very efficient storytelling, the audience gets a good idea of Olivia's relationship problems within the first 3 minutes. And just a few minutes later, you hear her sum up her entire character.
I don't even know what that's like. I was someone's daughter, then I was somebody's fucking mother.
When they move, Mason has this nice moment of painting over his and Samantha's height chart, quite possibly the first time he's ever acknowledged his own growth, something he'll come to do more and more. But in those small moments, you get moments like this one, pulled straight from the collective memories of any child who was in elementary school during the 4 years when we had Harry Potter books but didn't yet have Harry Potter movies. I remember my mom reading Harry Potter to me and my brother, almost exactly like this. It's such a specific moment, but also a universal one. There's such authenticity here. And that's how I feel about the movie as a whole. Paradoxically specific to this time and place, but also universal to the human experience. And always authentic. The way Mason laughs at his sister is authentic. The way Mason enthusiastically shows his dad his Arrowhead collection is authentic. Showing up to school with a haircut you're freaked out about is authentic. Discovering internet porn is kinda skeezy in a group setting, but it's definitely authentic. Being too cool for PDA from your mom is authentic. Awkward but well-meaning sex talks are authentic. A 13-year-old boy's assessment of the best 3 movies of the summer of 2008.
3 best movies this summer.
Right.
Tropic Thunder, Dark Knight, and Pineapple Express.
So authentic. And yes, I'd even defend this cringe-inducing, hard-to-watch scene as authentic. We already know that Linklater can write great dialogue. And we already know Linklater can write great dialogue for people this age. Heck, we hear great dialogue from characters this age later in this same movie. I won't defend the performances in this scene because, honestly, a few of them are pretty bad, but I will defend the writing. It's not that this is poorly written dialogue, it's that these characters are the fucking worst. I know that high school guys like this exist. And if you're going for authenticity, yeah, it's gonna be pretty cringe-inducing.
True dat.
For better or for worse, I now have the ability to look back on things I said and conversations I had when I was 15. And yeah, it's horrifyingly awkward, and not much better than anything said here.
True dat.
Though, even at my most obnoxious, I was never this rapey.
But none of the girls here want to.
Dude, it's not what they want, man. It's what you want.
True dat.
Ugh. Another thing about this scene that people seem to talk about is that there seems to be a setup with no payoff. You see everyone bully this one poor kid, then have him hold a board in front of a giant razor blade. He actually moves from where he was standing to better position himself in front of the blade. Obviously, the expectation is that this kid's gonna get severely hurt or killed by this razor blade, and Mason and these kids will have to deal with that. But no. Similar situation here. Because of this comment from Mason Sr.
Be careful when you're driving, all right? Don't be texting, don't be doing any of that. You watch 3 cars ahead, 2 behind. It takes 2 bad drivers to have an accident, okay?
Okay.
When Sheena shows Mason her phone, we expect that a foreshadowed crash is coming. But again, no. When Sam doesn't feel well one day towards the end,
I'm not having anything, not hungry.
What's wrong with you?
I'm sick.
just as the audience is thinking to themselves, ooh, is she pregnant?
She's pregnant.
But again, no.
No, to be honest, I drank way too much last night.
There's no way these almost setups and lack of payoffs aren't intentional, because there are enough setups elsewhere that do pay off. This awkward but very elementary school conversation about Star Wars
Yes, for arms.
Yoda, represent.
pays off later with more Star Wars talk.
You think they ever will make another Star Wars?
One of the first scenes of the movie is Mason doing graffiti, which comes back later.
Wow. So is this your tag? Is that what they still call it?
Or this moment, where Olivia cuts Mason off from having more soda, but has no objection to Bill ordering another bottle of wine.
Yes, please, another bottle of wine.
Coke. You know what? Mason, you're okay with water. No more Cokes.
She's so preoccupied with her children's well-being that she ignores signs of trouble to come in her husband. This advice about how to talk to girls?
First off, you gotta ask her a lot of questions. Then you have to listen to the answers, all right? Actually be interested in her.
Pays off later.
Do they let you major in that here? What do you teach? Which one's your favorite? How old are they?
I'm really happy that you're hanging out with us.
Yeah. Me too.
This throwaway moment showing Olivia's maternal instinct
Hey, you know you're smart. You should be in school.
pays off a few years later.
Gracias. It really meant a lot to me.
With the would-be setups that don't pay off, it's almost as if Linklater is trying to draw your attention to the fact that big dramatic things aren't happening, like horribly traumatic events or car crashes. I think he's trying to show that even a life without big dramatic moments is still a life worth depicting and exploring. Every human life, no matter how simple, is still a human life, and special in its own way.